The major war between the United States of America and Iran will begin in the coming weeks. We're talking about a large-scale wave of attacks on thousands of targets, including military and political sites and figures. This assessment was voiced at the White House for Axios, and as an argument, the publication cites information that the United States has already concentrated about a third of its active naval forces in the Middle East. That's hundreds of fighter jets, 2 aircraft carriers, and more than 250 cargo flights delivering weapons to the region. Just in the past 24 hours, about 50 additional F-35 fighter jets have been deployed to the region. In addition, F-35s, F-22s, F-18s, and F-15S are already deployed there, as well as tanker aircraft and reconnaissance planes. About 33 ships, including aircraft carriers, destroyers, and submarines, capable of carrying up to 600 Tomahawk missiles. Therefore, everything indicates that the United States campaign against Iran could become the largest, most technologically advanced, and most powerful operation of its kind. And the negotiations in Geneva between the United States and Iran showed that the Iranian regime still hopes to buy time and avoid signing the nuclear agreement. My name is Alexei Pichi. Let's discuss this topic together. But before we start this episode, I ask you to subscribe to the channel, give it a like, and leave any comment you wish. If you consider our work important and necessary, you can support this YouTube channel financially with your donation or a paid subscription using the links and details in the description of this video. Any support you can give is appreciated. So, Axios reports that Donald Trump's administration is much closer to a major war in the Middle East than most Americans think. It could start very, very soon. According to the publication's sources, the United States military operation in Iran is most likely to be a large-scale, weeks-long campaign that will look more like a full-scale war than a pinpoint operation in Venezuela. Last month, sources noted that this would likely be a joint United States-Israeli military campaign, much larger in scope and of greater existential importance to the regime than the 12-day war led by Israel last June, which the United States joined. Sources say that the Donald Trump administration is closer to war in the Middle East than most Americans think, and that this could be the most significant United States military intervention in the Middle East in at least recent decades. Sources noted that the Donald Trump administration is closer to a major war in the Middle East than most Americans think. Sources noted that the Donald Trump administration is closer to a major war in the Middle East than most Americans believe. Sources noted that the Donald Trump administration is closer to Americans. There is optimism about their elimination. Well, for example, here. The day before, United States Vice President J.D. Vance stated that the negotiations went well in some ways, but, quote, in other respects. It became absolutely clear that the president set some red lines that the Iranians are not yet ready to acknowledge and overcome. Vance made it clear that although Trump wants to make a deal, he may decide that diplomacy has reached its natural conclusion. Sources noted that the Donald Trump administration is closer to a major war in the Middle East. Most Americans and numerous air and missile defense systems are part of this firepower. Sources say that the Donald Trump administration is closer to a major war in the Middle East than most Americans think. The confrontation with Iran, as Axios writes, has dragged on for so long that many Americans have probably just gotten used to it, but as it drags on, there is an explanation. Sources noted that the Bliji administration believes that anything can happen in the Middle East. But all signs point to the fact that he will pull the trigger if the negotiations fail. And so, according to two Israeli officials, the government of Israel, which insists on the mayor's office. Sources noted that the Donald administration and the war in the Middle East are the main concerns for most Americans. Sources noted that the Donald Trump administration is closer to a major war in the Middle East than most Americans think, and that within 2 weeks the window for negotiations may close. Sources noted that the Donald Trump administration is closer to a major war in the Middle East. Most Americans, sources noted that the Donald Trump administration is closer to a major war in the Middle East than most Americans think. Sources say that the Donald Trump administration is closer to a major war in the Middle East than most Americans think. It was super helpful to watch this analysis so that investments always bring real feedback, not just a polite nod. As usual, I'm leaving the link to the video in the description of this video and in the pinned comment. I recommend you go and watch it. It's just 10 minutes of your time, and, as they say, the day is saved. By the way, the female audience will also find this interesting to watch. I'll leave it at that. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments under this episode. Sources noted that Donald Trump's administration is closer to a major war in the Middle East than most Americans think.